pick up my shirt now.
You're not on mute.
I know.
Good evening, NNJR. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Shannon Muller, Program Chair, and welcome to tonight's March monthly meeting. Tonight I have with us Rudy and Nancy Samsel, as well as Vu Nguyen from PCA. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope life finds, as always on these calls, that everyone is healthy and well. And I know I am looking forward to spring as much as everyone. So we're hoping that comes along quickly. Matt and I were lucky enough to be at Road Atlanta this weekend. We saw Kurt Barcy and Bill Merritt. Awesome to be back at the track and always great to connect with fun members. Bill Merritt is a trip. Want to say to everyone, I hope we meet in person soon. Right now, I'm going to turn things over to Rudy and we'll go from there. Hi, Rudy and Nancy. I don't hear him.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay,
Yes.
I just got to pop up there, so we're good. So good evening, everybody. We just wanted to say hello to all the new members. We're very excited. I think on Friday, I don't know if anybody saw it, but you know, the outside restrictions have been increased to 50 people. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that that's going to continue to expand, and we're going to be looking at having a new member gathering here pretty soon. So our best advice is, if you're new, you know, things are looking up and we'll be having more activities. The best thing you can do is keep an eye out for the email blasts, because I think we're going to be using that quite heavily over the coming months to as dates change and things get added to the calendar as we can to put them on. And you know, keep an eye on those. Keep an eye out for emails from Nancy here, and I'll let her explain. But some things that I think are coming up that are top of mind, and I'll let Nancy talk about the DE event. But if you're into Concord, I believe June 6th, the plans are in the works for a you want to start cleaning now for a Concord Paul Miller Porsche. So we're looking to, I think the details will be coming out on that, and it will be required. Registration will be required. So can't stress enough. Just keep an eye on the calendar. And if you have any questions, reach out to either of us at membership. Anything you want to add?
No, not really. I sent out an email blast to new members about next week's DE 101, and it's being met with quite a charge. Everybody's happy about it. I think it'll be a fun night.
Yeah, that's if you really have any interest in track and what you need to do before you even get there, they do a great job giving you the complete A to Z on what is needed, and go from there. So highly recommend it.
Okay.
That's really all we've got.
All right. Vu, didn't know if you wanted to just say a few words before we get started. Maybe then we'll hit on membership.
Sure. Thanks for having me. First of all, for those of you that don't know me, I'm PCA's executive director. I've been able to do this for just about 16 years. And 16 years ago, once I started, one of the very first couples that I met in PCA was somebody I want to bring up tonight to celebrate their 55th anniversary, and that is Dennis Tofts, and the pillar of NNJR, founding member, past PCA national president. And the real quick story, if you don't mind, as soon as I started with PCA, I wanted to know about PCA's membership. I was a member, but I didn't understand sort of the national scope and what regions go through in terms of all the work related to maintaining the membership database and information. And the name that always came up when I was trying to learn about that was Dennis and Marilyn. Like, you have to meet them. And not only did I get the opportunity to meet them, but they invited me, and this is totally PCA. They invited me to come up. They put me in a spare bedroom over the weekend. Dennis showed me his command central. I think there was, like, at the time, this was 2005. He showed me like the 4 computers he had set up in the spare bedroom. And it was just an amazing experience. And for those of you that are new to the club, just expect that is the level of commitment that our volunteers in PCA have. And I know it might be a bit overwhelming when you first start, but trust me, you're going to meet some lifelong friends and people that are, what I say always, cut from the same cloth. And the car got you into the club, but what's going to keep you in the club are the people that you're going to meet. So I hope you enjoy the start of your adventure. You're in a fantastic region. Very few other regions can hold a candle to NNJR. They've been past regions of the year. They've been past largest region in PCA, and that's for a very good reason. You are in good hands. So I hope you enjoy your stay with NNJR.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations to Dennis. We all appreciate and are grateful for how much time him and Marlis dedicated to the club over the years. So thanks for that. Didn't know if now we'd like to talk about membership.
From a national perspective, or is Rudy giving a presentation?
I could give you some quick numbers if you want me to, from a, you'll see it in the magazine. People's first inclination is with the pandemic over the past year, that membership might be down. And actually, we enjoyed, primary membership was up just under 12% last year. That was quite a for very little activity. We were quite pleased with that. And, our retention rates continue to be above where we want them to be on our goals. And I think you'll see in the upcoming Porsche for us, our February numbers were a little bit down, but I did a little analysis because I'm such a nerd that I found that February membership enrollments are truly a function of the average temperature in New Jersey.
Oh, for sure.
So with the weather we had last month, not surprising we were down from the prior year. So
And March is already making up for it.
March is already making up for it. So we're real pleased about that.
Good. Well, I'll jump in from the national side in terms of membership. The last time I was with you all was April, and things were kind of, let's say unknown, to put it lightly. And, April and May of 2020 was the first time in over a decade that PCA National saw a decline in membership. And it was a solid 2 months where we had to decline. And it was scary. I mean, I went through the tech bubble in 07, 08 with PCA, and PCA didn't even flinch. And so for us to see a drop in membership in April, May, it worried me. I'm not going to lie, but I believed in the system and the executive council and all of our staff. We, much like the volunteers, and NNJR, we kind of looked at the environment and just adjusted what we were doing. And after starting in June, we started to see the numbers level off. And in a typical year for PCA, we see anywhere between a 4, maybe 4.5% increase a year. It's very, very consistent, very conservative, but very consistent. And I'm very proud to say in 2020, we grew about 2% nationally, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you compare us to other industries, if you compare us to other car clubs, I'm almost certain that I can say that we're the only car club that was able to grow in 2020. And it's to maintain a roster of about 140,000 members through a pandemic. I'm so proud of PCA. We're so fortunate. As of last month, another milestone for PCA was we grew over 90,000 households. So 140 includes the second member in your membership. But if you're talking about just households, PCA households, that's, we crossed over the 90,000 mark. When I started with PCA, we were, I think, 42, 44. So yeah, we're very fortunate. So that's the membership update on our side. But yeah, I've got some other stuff to share, but I'll stop there.
Rudy, Nancy, any other comments on membership?
No, I think we've got it covered. We're just gonna, I think you'll like I say, we'll see more activities going on, and we can't wait to meet everybody that's joined in the past year and a half or so. that we haven't met yet. And don't be afraid to ask any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Vu, then how about we talk about the parade?
Parade. Oh, so I just got back from French Lick, Indiana. We were there in 2015 for our 60th anniversary. And I remember when we went to French Lick for that parade, I didn't know much about French Lick, Indiana, to be honest with you, before my site visit. And after parade happened there, before we even said goodbye, people were asking, when are we coming back to French Lick? It was that good. And those that didn't go that year felt like they missed out. And so we knew we were going to come back at some point. We didn't necessarily know that we would be back for 2021, but it was already in the books. I mean, we've known about this for about 3 years. We planned 3 to 4 years out. And so I was there last week for a site visit. I was also there in the fall for a site visit. I think I was telling Shannon earlier, for us, we haven't had a large national event since Works Reunion Amelia Island last March, right before my call with you all, right? That was like the last big hurrah. And we will be at Works Reunion Amelia this year, May 21st. But that's a one-day outside event that is going to be fairly easy to manage. But we haven't had a parade. We had to cancel parade in 2020, as you know, and that broke our heart because we've had a parade since 1956. And I hate that I was on the watch when we didn't do one, but I think I have an excuse, you know, and it's always about the safety of our members. And although it pained us to cancel that one, you know, it was something we just had to do. Going to French Lick, as I said, was already on the books, and so with contracts and such. And what's nice is now that we're going back to parade, getting, you know, back to a large event under potential COVID restrictions, it's nice that we're going to a venue that has held a parade before. In fact, a lot of the staff, the general manager of the resort that was there in 2015, Joe Vizzozo, he is still there. He couldn't wait. I think this is sort of his swan song, like he was waiting for us to come back. So that takes a lot of stress out of planning. Trust me, there's still stress to be shared, but the fact that the venue that we're going to, they know our expectations when it comes to a normal parade. Certainly we have adjustments on capacity and such with COVID restrictions, but they're also owned by a medical company, which is great because they understand the importance of, you know, being clean and all the medical supplies. They have access to all that. So even when I went to visit with them in the fall, like they had everything, like every 6 feet I could clean my hands, and, you know, they had masks everywhere and all that kind of stuff. They just, you know, they did what they could. And after last week's visit, I can tell you, you know, we are preparing under current restrictions, which changes capacity up a little bit. And for those of you that have tried to register for parade and, you know, you're worried about whether or not you'll get into things, certainly we're going to open it up as much as we possibly can, but we're not going to sacrifice the safety of our members, especially, you know, the demographics that we represent, right? Like we are very sensitive to that. We want to have fun. We want to do all this stuff, but we're going to want to do it safely. And I'm an optimist, and I think that by the time July 21st comes around, it still won't be a perfectly normal parade. I don't think the world will be back to normal, but I think, you know, most of us will have vaccines and more things will open up, and, you know, it'll still be a great time. And what I tell people is, you know, just please be flexible and just be thankful that we can have the event, because a lot of organizations out there, you know, didn't survive 2020 and don't have the budget to do the regular things that they do. And here we are, we're ready to go. And the volunteers that manage it, they don't not only have plan A, they have plan B, and they have plan C. let's just hope we don't need a plan D.
Right. Well, no, for those of us who don't know or haven't even thought about going to parade, could you tell us a little bit quickly about the overview of those few days in Indiana?
Yeah, so Porsche Parade is like any other industry. They have, one national convention a year, and Porsche Parade is the crown jewel event for PCA. It is a week-long event that incorporates everything that you can do with your Porsche. From the hallmark event is probably on Monday, which is the Concord d'Elegance. Then you have autocross, where you can compete against others for time through cones. For those of you that have not autocrossed before, we have at least a dozen different tours. We have what's called time, speed, distance rally, where you're touring, but you're maintaining a speed all within legal speed limits, and you're looking for signs and following a certain path with certain clues. You have social, obviously lots of social events, and it's also a family oriented event. There's bowling, there's mini golf. I mean, it's a family affair for most people. I would say for Porsche Parade, 50% of the parade goers are people that are there every single year. And the other 50% comprises of the people that are within maybe a 10-hour radius of driving from that parade, because we move parade all over the country every year. And it's one of the most unique events that you can attend. There's obviously there's regional events, there's zone events, there's the PCA Treffin, which is sort of a 4-star couples event, let's say. That's a long weekend. And the parade is sort of like that bucket list one. And if you haven't signed up already for this year's parade, it's probably unlikely that you'll get in because of the pent-up demand. But I will give you, if you haven't heard already, a little secret is that next year it's going to be very, very close to all of us. It's going to be in the Pocono. And so,
Really?
yeah, it's going to be in the Pocono. So make sure next February, mark your calendars, pay attention. It's when you have the ability to drive to a parade, that's super, super special. And the Pocono is beautiful. The facility that we have there is amazing. And I hope that by the time we are there next year, it's going to be a normal parade, which you'll really get the full impact of it. But just to give you an example, my first Porsche parade, I was, I checked in and I just wanted to walk out to the front of the lobby, and I just heard these exhausts just going on and on and on. I'm like, what is going on? And I saw 3 Carrera GTs just pulling out of the parking lot. And then you see a 356, and then you see mid-year 9. Like everywhere you look, there was a Porsche, and it's just very surreal. But yet at the same time, everybody, just like in NNJR, everyone is super approachable. There's people that are there for the first time, and there's someone there that's been there 45, 50 times. It's crazy. And you see everything. You're walking down the hall and you see Dr. Wolfgang Porsche coming towards you. What do? You just kind of freeze, right? And then you're like, yes, sir, how are you? And yeah, and then you see racers, you see people that have been in PCA for a while, and it's really exciting. And like I said, it's just so engaging and sensory.
How do you select the locations? I mean, there's so much that you have to encompass.
Yeah, so
property.
it's hard, and that's why we have to do it so far out. Even with the cancellation of, say, Palm Springs, people are like, well, I guess you're going there next year. Well, that's not the case, because we have contracts in place already, 2 or 3 years out. So believe it or not, there are plenty of places. A parade typically will house about 1,000 families, 1,200 families or so. Housing bodies and having events to do things with them, that's pretty easy. You can go to any major city to do that. What's hard is when those 1,000 families bring their Porsches with them, and you need a spot to safely corral the cars. You need Concord, which is not too hard. You find space for that. The hardest is finding like an autocross venue, and also finding like I love, obviously I live in Maryland and DC. Parade would not be good here because there's just so much traffic, right? So you
Yep.
couldn't really have a parade here. Back in 1956, you could have a parade in Gaithersburg, Maryland, because traffic wasn't so bad. So we need to have engaging roads. We need to have destinations like French Lick, Indiana. You'll have these bourbon trail tours.
Oh,
You'll
wow.
have these different factories. They're driving up to Griot's Garages distribution center. So we find all of these really cool excursions that you can do in your car. And when you take all those puzzle pieces, there aren't that many places we can go. And that's how we kind of ended back to French Lick, because when you found a place that was so special and not everybody got to go, we'll be back. We obviously won't do it 2-3 years right after it, but we'll be back because if it's a good recipe, it's a good recipe.
And how long of a drive is it from here?
To French Lick from here is about, I think, 12 hours.
Oh, wow. That's
Not
not
bad.
too bad.
It's not
too bad
it's
at all.
not bad. It's not bad. I drove it last time, and people do drive. And a funny story is we have this perennial long distance driver that comes from Alaska. He drives his 87 911 Carrera. Takes him about a month. And he just there's stretches in Alaska where he says he just puts the pedal down and just kind of folds his hands, and the car tracks so well it just drives straight for about 2 hours, and maybe touches the wheel every now and again. When we had parade in San Diego, he was just driving and he missed the exit until for San Diego. He ended up at the southern border at Mexico, and he goes, "Oh, maybe I should turn around." They're like, "San Diego was like 10 exits ago. Turn around." But yeah,
Just love driving that much.
yeah, that's Mike and Terry Holtzclaw, and for the distances they put, they usually get a set of Michelins every year. So for a long
Really?
yeah, so there's great
So
prizes too. There's prizes like sets of tires. Porsche sends picks a winner that will send them to the factory for a factory tour. All
Oh,
sorts
wow.
of
So you got to be
amazing-
present to win, right?
Gotta be present to win. Gotta be present to win. Lots of special stuff.
Yeah,
They do new car introductions, like when the Taycan was a prototype, they brought a prototype out. They brought the first Panamera. They introduced the first Cayenne. In San Diego, they put the then new 928 in the middle of a swimming pool. So all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Don't see that every day for sure.
Exactly. And that's what's great about being part of PCA is we also have such a great relationship with the manufacturer that they really pull out all the stops to do special things for us. I belong to other car clubs as well, and unfortunately, not all manufacturers have a great relationship with their car clubs. I don't know why. It seems like it would make sense, but they don't for whatever reason. And we're fortunate that we do have a fantastic relationship with Porsche.
Do you think they just choose not to, or they don't see the value the way we do, or?
I think it has to do with being a two-way street, right? And we get this in PCA too. In some regions, for example, they may or may not have let's just take your dealers in the area.
Yep.
There are some dealers that get it, and there are some dealers that don't get it. Some of the dealers that don't get it, it could be their fault, or it could be that, our region had our hand out and never did anything for them. So that stuck in that,
Right.
they have that mindset. So it's kind of like that. I mean, yeah, it's relationship building. And, we're fortunate that we do have a good relationship.
Yeah, that's awesome. How about, I'd love to hear a little bit about Amelia Island.
Yeah.
For those who have never been, what exactly it is, and are there still spots available for people to participate?
Yeah, so Works Reunion, that is a series that we do at Amelia, and typically it'd be in March, but we've pushed it to May 21st. And then we also do Works Reunion Monterey, which would be August in that year. And basically, Works Reunion is the pregame, right? So we're in front of the Amelia Island Concours at Amelia Island. And then we're in front of Pebble Beach Concours when we're out in Monterey. And so it's a single day event, but it is just intense in terms of participation. So just imagine this: 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 1,000, 1,200 Porsches and their drivers and their co-pilots descend upon a golf course, and we lay all the cars out. Some cars will be judged, some cars will be display only. We have rows of exhibitors, we have food trucks, we have coffee out. But it's a casual. The difference between Works Reunion and say like a Porsche parade is, one, it's one day, but two, it's really just a casual. Like there is judging, but it's not like official, line by line judging. It's more of a feel for the judging,
Okay.
more
Yep.
casual judging, and it's really just about being together. It's a lot of fun. It's low cost. You get there, you find your own accommodations, you show up for the day. We have a live band playing. You can visit with exhibitors. We usually have Porsches also there, and they'll showcase. I think last year we had the car from the Bad Boys movie.
Wow.
We had John Oates Carrera that he restored with Porsche Classic. So people like that will just show up. A Seinfeld will show up, a Spike Ferriston will show up, a Mike Magnus Walker will show up, because it's just, if you are a Porsche fan, and it's open to PCA members or non-PCA members, as long as you are a enthusiast, you're welcome to come. And we look at it as a marketing effort for the club too, because there really is no better place to see every single model that Porsche made across one or two golf fields. And it's an amazing site. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see what it's like, if you just go to YouTube and type in Works Reunion PCA, there's several videos, and it'll give you an idea of, you look out a fairway that's probably a par 3, and from where you're standing to the hole, it's all Porsches, just rows and rows and rows, every color, every combination, cab, coupe, Targa, whatever you want to see, it's probably there.
Now, do you ever stay through the weekend for the big show?
I do. So a lot of our members do as well. And in fact, what we do is we are fortunate enough where we are able to select about a dozen cars from our event, and we take them over to Amelia Island Concord, and we have a display there. And we take that opportunity as a recruiting effort for PCA members as well. So we make it a full weekend. And
How do you select those cars?
It's a combination of showing a good cross section of what PCA is. We would like older cars, newer cars, coupes, convertibles, race cars. Again, they're just car people are there, not necessarily Porsche people there. So you want to try to bring a collection of cars that's going to appeal to almost anybody. So we don't do a single model. We don't do a single style. We try, and that's what the club's all about, right? Like, I don't care if you drive a 911, a 914, or 918. Like, there's a place for you in PCA, and that's what we want to project when we go to these events. And and then the owners love it because their cars are parked on the same lawn as these people that have been personally invited by the chairman of Amelia Island Concord, and here we are rolling up 12 deep.
Yeah, I mean, to be the people on the fairway the day before is pretty special enough.
And there's no other club that has that presence. I can't tell you how often I'm so proud of PCA, and that's just one of those highlights, and people see it. Like, we are, not to toot our own horn too much, but we're kind of the standard, right? We're kind of a big deal, and a lot of these car clubs look to us and look to see what we're doing, and that's pretty cool. But we also are constantly, much like you guys all in NNJR, just looking at what we can do more, what we can do better, and we just keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I know our Concord folks have an extensive program here, and I'm sure they're going to be doing things COVID responsible and whatnot. Would that be something a new Concord person could look into to get some tips on?
Yeah, Concord is really interesting because it can be, it can scare off people. When you see somebody walking towards your car with a white glove, you're like,
And a
what?
toothpick.
And a toothpick. But there's,
That's
but
not a
you know,
Q-tip.
there's different levels, right? There's wash only, there's exterior only, there's interior undercarriage. There's different levels. Just, you know, what I always say is you participate in Concord because you find it relaxing to clean your car. And sure, there's people that are like at the pro level, or they're trying to earn that trophy and they've been doing it for a while. Yeah, that's great. But for me, I like to try to participate in a Concord because that just sets a goal for me that I need to clean my car, right? And so you probably will clean it the best that to your ability, and then you get to park on the lawn. And if for nothing else, you get a wonderful parking space. You can take some great pictures.
Exactly.
But then if I'll give you a perfect example. I competed with my 87 Turbo Look Cabriolet. It was my track car, but I wanted to compete at the Carolinas, the Charlotte parade. So I entered the race class, meaning a car that's being tracked. And I was like, I'm going to be serious about it. I tend to be serious and competitive, right? So I spent like 2 months. I just took my car apart 2 months and started cleaning it inside and out. And I'm like, I'm going to do this panel. I'm going to do this suspension area and da 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 da. My car was the absolute cleanest it had ever been.
Wow.
And I only had like maybe 6 competitors in my class that, once I got there, I found out.
Right.
I was like, I got a chance at this, right? Trailered my car up there, didn't rain, so I was super happy about that. Get it off the trailer, continued to clean up to like the hour before it was judged. Judges went through it, score sheets came out, dead last.
Why? What happened?
Dead last, because they just looked at places that I didn't even think of. They looked inside the seat rails. They looked under one of these compartments and found I had wiped down my car with a white cloth and my interior is black. So they found white lint. And I'm like, oh my God. So, but don't give up hope though, because after I got my score sheets back, I corrected all that stuff. And then I went back home and I did my local region Concours events and I cleaned up. I was so prepared that like, this car is ridiculously clean. I was like, yeah, I prepped it for parade and I came in last place. So I fixed everything that they found, and that this is the result of it. And once the car is clean, unless it's a daily driver of yours, it's actually kind of easy to maintain how clean it is. And so what I would say is don't be, don't be too scared to try a Concours, and don't stress about it, but you can learn a lot. I mean, and if you're the type of person that's going to keep your car a while, some of the tips and tricks that you learn on how to prepare your car for Concours will just keep your car looking nice for a long time. So it's a good investment to maintain your car.
How many people enter the event once you're there at the day before? Like, do you get every member wants to be judged, or how many of all the?
No. I would say at parade, there's probably 150 cars or so that are judged. And like I said, there'll be probably 800, 900 cars, but not everyone's there. But we have an area called the Corral where you'll be able to park on the field, but you won't be judged. I mean, to do well, you do have to spend some time in the car. I mean, it's like going to the world finals, right? You can't just pick up a tennis racket and go to the world finals or whatever it is. You have to kind of earn your way up there. And I will say, I if you're smart and you want to do pretty well, kind of look at the classes that aren't that popular. And I will say, my only time that I took first place at a Concours at parade was when I Concoured my Cayenne.
Really?
Yeah, I conquered my Cayenne and I blew out all the Cheerios and French fries and all that stuff. But you know what? The other Cayennes also had French fries and Cheerios. So I did all right points wise. And actually, that was the first time I took first place at a parade Concours. And I figured I'll retire now. Retire on top.
Leave on a high note.
Exactly.
Well, what's the neatest car you've seen there at the event? Something really memorable.
There's so many, but just to run through a few, Mike Robbins, a longtime PCA member that drove this 55 Speedster to, I think, 42 parades he drove. He bought it new and drove to like 42 some parades. A super neat car. He took care of it himself. He drove it well into his 80s to parade. There's another gentleman by the name of Randy Kaplan. He has I remember in 2010 seeing his Carrera GT, and he literally opens the doors and puts kids in it. And he just says, I want kids to experience this. It's like, it's not just a trophy for me. He drives it. We've seen 959s. We also have a historic display chair that brings out some cars that you've only seen in books. The people, collectors that bring some really significant cars out. And yeah, you'll see a 917, you'll see all sorts of amazing cars. You'll see speedsters, spiders, you name it. They've been at a parade.
Wow. Well, what's your favorite part of the parade?
My favorite, I'm very much a people person, and I love seeing everybody. I love the cars, don't get me wrong, but I love seeing everybody. And I adore seeing the passion people have for everything that they're doing. What's crazy, and for people outside of the parade world, when I tell them this, they don't get it, but when you're there, you will. So let's say parade has 1,000 attendees. Let's say that just for a discussion's sake, 700 of those 1,000, maybe even 800 of those 1,000 will be working some sort of assignment at parade. Be it
Really?
water,
Wow.
working the clothing store, working the autocross, working whatever. Like, part of the experience is not only participating as an attendee, but putting on a volunteer's vest to make these events work. Without the volunteers, parade would not work. Just like your events in NNJR.
Yep.
And work is a term that I kind of use loosely. It is work, don't get me wrong, but it's so much fun. Like, I love working the grid at an autocross because I get to see everybody. I get to poke fun of them when I say, last run's gonna be your worst run, or I see you got too hot there. And I just love seeing everybody. And it's just seeing the people is probably my favorite.
Well, okay. I know you can't tell us where it'll be in Pocono, but what was the month again? People should be looking out for that.
It should be July. Oh, so we will announce it in January. And then registration will be, I think, around maybe February or March, but we'll definitely tell the world. So.
All right. Well, how about, I think you mentioned a few other things that you thought you'd like to chat about.
Yeah. So I don't know if we probably can't see how many people are watching, or by show of hands participate in the PCA
We
raffle.
have 60 people.
60 people. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there's probably one or two of them that have participated in the PCA raffle. And last year or last fall, we had a record number of raffle entries, and we were able to raffle off 7 Targa 4S's. 7 Targa 4S's.
That's amazing.
And, it's an amazing fundraiser for the club. And I don't know if you haven't had the opportunity to see or meet the winners, we did do a video with them, and every single one of them this time have never won a single thing.
Really?
And it's really fun to meet these people. It's fun to surprise them because I think it's life-changing. I mean, it's only a car, but it's a 6-figure car, and they bought a $50 ticket. So to me, it's pretty life-changing. It's fun to engage the regions in surprising some of these winners. Obviously, I can't go and surprise each of them personally. I try to do 1 or 2 under normal circumstances, but the regions definitely help out with surprises. And I'll tell a quick story of the winner that I surprised in in Maryland. That happened to be a Maryland person, which worked out okay for COVID reasons. But so it's very hard to deliver news secretly.
Yeah.
And with people and
With
social media awareness or social media, the privacy issues and all that kind of stuff. And although I know their address and I know how to reach them directly, like it's hard to covertly reach out to them. And so anyway, so the winner in Maryland turned out it wasn't the primary person, but it was the family member that won, and they are obviously eligible. I'm like, okay, well, that's the first time we had that. And so I found I had his name, and so my first go-to is to go to Facebook and try to find the person. And yeah, so I found someone with the same name, and turned out we had a mutual friend. So I called my mutual friend. I'm like, hey, Bruno, you know this guy? He's like, yeah, I kind of know him. We're Facebook friends, but I know his brother better. So why don't you call the brother? And so I called the brother and I said, hey, is this your brother? And he's like, yeah. I said, so, because we haven't had a family member win before, I just want to make sure, do you know who the primary person is? And that person's name, her name was Kit. And the guy goes, I don't know who Kit is. I'm like, wait a minute, what? This is your brother? The prime person is Kit and you don't know them? And I'm like, I don't want to bring family drama into this about like why they're paired up in the system. And so long story short, there was two people, same name, same city. And we figured it out. And yeah, so anyways,
it would be good that you didn't present the person, that didn't
exactly. So it's never easy. It's always an interesting journey, but it always works out somehow. So
who was the person that had the most enthusiasm with their win?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many. I mean, I've had people jump up and down, but
you're kind of like Publishers Clearinghouse, right? You're showing up and giving
you know what?
prize.
What's crazy is our society has pre-programmed us to be in disbelief. And so Joe, the guy in Maryland, like on video, when you see him, you're just like, why isn't the guy excited? But what you don't see is the fact that he was shaking so much, like he couldn't believe it. And it wasn't that he wasn't happy. It's just that it's just a whole lot of emotion, and it just doesn't come out as it's not Publishers Clearinghouse as the typical hoorah. They're just floored. They can't believe that they spent $50 and now they've got a $100,000, $130,000 car on their driveway. They just can't believe. Like the guy was, when we approached his house, he wasn't even wearing shoes. And it was cold. I was wearing a 3/4 length jacket, and we're talking for a solid 15 minutes. He was in slippers. He wasn't barefoot or anything, but he was in slippers. And then his wife goes in and gets him a jacket. And to give you an idea of how like shaken he was about it, when he was trying to zip up his jacket, he couldn't do it. Like a simple motion of putting your jacket on, the people are just, it overwhelms them. And it's not that they're not happy. It's not that they don't want to jump up and down. It's just, it's news until I guess you've been presented with it. It's hard to understand how you'll react.
Now, the 7 you did this year are more than any other year previously, correct?
We've done 7 before when it was the GT4 a couple of years ago. But this one was the highest number of tickets ever. I think we sold like 30,000 or 34,000 entries sold. So the volume of entries was the most.
Can I ask what happens with the money? Like, how do you guys invest the raffle sales?
Yeah, so it all goes back into PCA's general operating funds. It is a fundraiser for the club. The hopes is that, we've done well enough during the year, and either we're funding a new project for PCA, or those of you that, that are active in the region, you'll know that there are region subsidies that come out every quarter. But then typically there is, if PCA does well, that there's a region rebate above and beyond that, right? So it just goes all back into the club without us having to go to the member. We could raise $46 to become a PCA member. That is the deal of the century. And although we probably could raise it $1, $2, and just multiply that by 90,000, you can see how much we could raise. But, we feel if we can keep it at 46 and just do these raffles and do new programs or give region rebates this way, we'll just keep it 46. There's no reason to raise it. So yeah, as long as it keeps producing for us and we're able to do all the extra member benefits and such that we can. A perfect example of where we invested some of the money in 2020, because we couldn't go out and do events, and because regions were kind of hamstrung about doing events themselves. We did a lot of digital marketing. And if you're on Facebook, if you're on Google, if you're on Instagram, you've probably come across some PCA advertising. And our growth last year directly correlated to the amount of advertising we did. The growth, the number of new members that joined PCA last year, 60% of those new members were through traditional means, word of mouth, dealers. 40% was directly from digital marketing.
Wow.
So that's a perfect example of how we've taken, some of the proceeds from the raffle program, put it into a program like digital marketing, get 40% new members out of that. And it goes, and it's a gift, hopefully, that will continue to grow. Because you get that member not only for the first year, but it will compound first, second, third, fourth year, whatever. And it also gets PCA out into the public, these Facebook ads, these Instagram ads, not just PCA owners see it, but just car enthusiasts. We can dissect the demographics down to exactly, if we're going to Monterey, we can send PCA ads to the Monterey area during car week. We know people will be there looking at Facebook or posting, and it's the digital opportunities are quite amazing. Another opportunity that we've taken with is investing in some equipment. If you've seen Tech Tactics Live on YouTube, it's a little show thank you. Little show that we started. Again, this is something we wanted to do years ago, but we just didn't have the time. And this is like one of the things that came out of COVID, where Tech Tactics, on a good weekend gets 250 people through the Porsche facility, right? And we do it in Easton, and we do it in California once a year, and that's 500, 600 people, which is great, and it's an amazing event. But because we couldn't go to these, we're like, why don't we just do these online and cast it out there and see if people were interested, and take the same formula of having some dynamic guests and some dynamic topics. And just like the show last night, we talked about buying a 987.1 Boxster Cayman after the show. So we had about 300 people live during the show. Wow. We ended it at 9 o'clock. And by the time I woke up this morning, 2,500 people had already seen it. Wow, so the awesome amount of folks and eyeballs that you get on PCA, it's a pretty good return on our investment. And so, it's things like that we're able to do, where other clubs, that are struggling just to maintain their membership and maintain the things that they do. We have the luxury to continue to invest and bring more member benefits to our group.
Well, thank you so much for everything you've shared. I'm just going to take 1 second to look over and see if I missed any questions. No. Okay. Any other topics you'd like to talk about?
Probably just my background. If you notice the background, hopefully you think it's striking, because we did invest in getting some unique art made. And it's not just because I needed art for my background. It's actually what we've done is, if you've recently joined or renewed, you've received some unique artwork as your membership renewal kit. Or if you were at Daytona, you may have seen the new membership kits. And the whole idea is, yes, the majority of our members join digitally, but when we're at locations, it's nice to hand someone something about the club. And like other organizations, we had very traditional membership brochures that were pretty good looking. But again, with the opportunity to look inward during COVID, we thought, why not create a piece of art that when we put it on the table, folks will just naturally gravitate towards it because it's pretty and it just happens to be a membership kit, or and what we will do is we'll use it for all of our, like if you come to Amelia Island, this will be the backdrop for our membership booth, right? And we'll build sort of our information booth kind of around this artwork. But then next year we're going to commission another art piece. And so even if you're in the club, when you get your renewal package, you'll get the latest and greatest, and you can pin it up on your toolbox or put it in your kitchen or whatever. If we're going to print something, why not make it beautiful? And so it's little tweaks like that again, other clubs they're probably just hoping they can produce a membership brochure, let alone produce an artistic piece. And so we're just looking to take it to the next level and not just be comfortable that we are doing well, and just kind of continue to tweak it until it just like the GT3 behind you. That car was amazing when it came out, but Porsche didn't stop. The 992 GT3 is even better. How it got there is just because they just continue to tweak it. And we just kind of want to be the same way.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I actually don't think I have any other questions, but is it okay for folks to reach out to you if they have any follow-up questions to?
Absolutely. So during the COVID year, our offices, we had some folks working remote. And so when we transitioned for pretty much everyone except for 2 people in the office, which are at opposite ends of the building, we're all remote, but our phone systems and everything and computer systems are all interconnected. So if you have any questions, if myself or my staff can help you, when you call that same number that you've always called, it bounces around to houses all over the DC area. You won't know the difference, and we have access to everything that we need. But yes, absolutely, drop me a line via email, give me a call. Always there to talk it up. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this. I know we had a lot of people on the call, and I'll make sure that this is available tomorrow for people to see in case anyone missed it. But it was great seeing you, and I hope we get to do this again soon. And I wish you all the luck with the parade and all your events this year.
Thank you so much for having me. And as we get back to normal, I wish you all the best of luck. And it's time to get back out there and have some fun.
That's right. I totally agree. Totally agree. Well, good night, everyone at NJR. Thanks for tuning in. Next month, we're hoping to have Christina Nielsen, IMSA race car driver, and Ross Bentley at the end of the month. So please check back on the website and Facebook for details. And if anyone has any questions, as always, please send me an email. Thank you, Vu. I had a great time, and I hope everyone else did too. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Yay. Dude, that was great.
All right.
Yeah, that was awesome.